Book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Ecclesiastes chapter 7. I'm going to read from verses 1 onwards, and probably we finish in verse 14. Ecclesiastes 7, 1 to 14. It's good? So, the book of Ecclesiastes is a very nice book. Very, very interesting book. It's a very practical book and opens our eyes. So, Ecclesiastes 7, 1 to 14. This morning, I would like to speak about wisdom in practice. Wisdom in practice. Now, having wisdom, having knowledge, having understanding, having education, having job, having a home, all this is good. But how do you put it into practice? For example, you have education. Did you know that a lot of people are educated? How many of them are putting the education into practice? How many of them? Everybody's educated. There's no big deal for education. But how many of us put that into practice? Everybody has a job, but how many of us put that into practice? We all have bikes and cars. How many of us put that into practice? We have a home. How many of us put that into practice? What's the whole deal about it? So wisdom is there. We have wisdom. None of us are without wisdom. We have wisdom. How do we put it into practice? And you see, one of the biggest issues that I've been seeing in my life, and many others, is that because our wisdom is not in practice, we tend to get into trouble and problems. Because our knowledge and understanding is not into practice, we tend to have issues and challenges. So let's read what the book of Ecclesiastes has to say. Ecclesiastes 7 from verse 1. It says, "A good reputation is more valuable than costly perfume. And the day you die is better than the day you're born." I think I agree with that. Better to spend your time at funerals than at parties. After all, everyone dies, so the living should take this to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us. A wise person thinks a lot about death, while a fool thinks only about having good time. Better to be criticized by a wise person than to be praised by a fool. A fool's laughter is quickly gone like the thorns crackling in a fire. This is also meaningless. Extortion turns wise people into fools, and bribes corrupt the heart. Finishing is better than starting. Patience is better than pride. Control your temper, for anger labels you a fool. Don't long for the good old days. This is not wise. Wisdom is even better when you have money. Both are a benefit as you go through life. Wisdom and money can get you almost anything, but only wisdom can save your life. Accept the way God does things, for who can straighten what he has made crooked? Enjoy prosperity while you can, but when hard times strike, realize that both come from God. Remember that nothing is certain in this life. Isn't it amazing? Nothing is certain in this life. When the Bible says nothing is certain in this life, it means nothing. Nothing. So it says, a good reputation is more valuable than costly perfume. I've always believed that we all need to hold on to good reputations. I've always been a believer of that. Especially when I do my business. When I go places, I do my business, I deal with people, and the first thing that I enter into a conversation with, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what business I do, my first introduction to people is, hey, listen to me. I'm doing this because I have a good reputation in my business. I'm not doing this because I'm going to get the money alone. Of course, money is going to help me. But I'm doing this because I've got a good reputation. Until now, I've not spoiled that good reputation in my business. All my clients, all my customers have never had an issue with me because I've got a good reputation with them, partly because I've been honest with my business, with my products, with my services, and I charge honestly. And so if you're looking at me as one of those other kind of guys who are crooks and who are come to extort money, I'm sorry, no. My reputation in my business is much more than my business itself. I remember when I was working for a company for 6 years when we entered the city. I worked in a company, for a private limited company for 6 years. I was with them, and the company came to a point where they were losing their reputation. They were not paying salaries to employees. At every given point of time, we'll get our salary 3 months after our actual salaries date, right? I was there for 6 years. And then they started lying to people, and they were expecting us to lie and manipulate people. And my boss was a Christian guy. He was a believer. I had to go one day to my boss, and I was part of the leadership team. There were 3 directors. I was part of that team on the team. And so I had to sit down and tell my boss. I said, "Sir, with all due respect, I think you need to understand. You know who I am, right? You know who I am. You know what my background. You know what I do. You know who I am. And knowing fully well who I am, you're asking me to do things that is not part of me. You're asking me to manipulate customers. You're asking me to lie to customers. Now that might be good for your business, but that's not good for my reputation. So here's the deal. I keep my reputation, we continue here, or I quit and you can continue with your reputation." I tried explaining to them, they were not getting it, and finally I had to quit. I quit my job because my reputation was getting spoiled with my clients. You see, it's important that we have a good reputation, which is more valuable and costly than perfumes and whatever we have. Don't sell your reputation for anything. Don't sell your reputation for anything. It's not worth it. It says, and the day you die is better than the day you're born. For one thing that I can remember, the day that you die, you don't know anything what's happening. So definitely it's a better day. The day you're born, you also don't know much what's happening except you're kicking and crying for milk and sleep, whatever. And so it says the day that you die is better than the day that you're born. Better to spend time at funerals than at parties. I absolutely believe that. Absolutely, I believe that. It's better to spend time with grieving and mourning and painful people than to spend time with people who are celebrating. Nothing wrong in celebrations, nothing wrong in parties. You can always go to a party, but you can never go back and comfort somebody who's grieving. Try to understand when the Bible, when God says it's better to do this than that, He's not against that. He's just telling you that it's important to consider what's most important than the other, your priorities. After all, everyone dies, so the living should take this to heart. When it says the living should take this to heart, basically what God's saying is take this personally. Sometimes when we tell people things, we say, please don't take it personally. I found that statement funny. I've always found that statement funny. We say things and we say, please don't take it personally. What the heck did you say that for then? You're saying it to someone for them to take it personally. Why would you say, please don't take it personally? They're supposed to take it personally. It says, it's important. After all, everyone dies. So the living should take this to heart. So basically what God's saying, the living should take this personally. Take it to heart. This is important. This is real. Sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us. Did you know that when laughing is good? I love laughing. I do a lot of laughing. But it says sadness refines the heart. It says it has a refining influence on us. You know what happens when you are in sadness? You think a lot about a lot of things. When you're thinking a lot about a lot of things, you know what's happening to yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, whatever. You know what's happening? It's refining. It's purifying. And that's why the Bible says sadness has a refining influence on us. Better than laughter. You know, when you laugh, you have to have another person with you. If you don't have another person, it means something's wrong with you. Right? But when you're grieving, you don't have to have anybody with you. It's personal and it's refining. It's okay to have somebody with you, but it's not necessary. But you can't say, that's okay, I'll laugh alone. You can laugh alone. I mean, you can take the risk to laugh alone. That's fine. But when you're grieving and when you're sad, it says it has a refining influence on you. So don't worry if you're grieving more than you're laughing. You know what's happening? There's more refining happening in you. Some people, they keep feeling bad about themselves. They say, I have more grief in my life than I have laughter and good things in my life. That's fine. There's a lot of refining taking place. So don't worry, you're good. You're absolutely fine. You're normal. A wise person thinks a lot about death. I don't know whether you've been thinking about death. No? Yeah? I've been thinking a lot about death. Some people have told me, why are you being so negative? It's not being negative. Thinking about death is not being negative. Thinking about death is thinking about the reality of the one day. It's negative if you say, God kill me, God kill me, God kill me. Hey, please come help me to die. Please come help me to die. I want to commit suicide. I don't know how. Help me. That's being negative. But thinking about death is preparing yourself. Thinking about sickness and illness is preparing yourself. What if? Okay, I can hold this together. And so it says, wise people think about a lot. It doesn't say wise people think. It says wise people think a lot about death. While a fool thinks only about having a good time. Better to be criticized by a wise person than to be praised by a fool. A fool's laughter is quickly gone, like thorns crackling in fire. This also is meaningless. Extortion turns wise people into fools, and bribes corrupt the heart. We don't need to talk about bribes. We all had our share in that. This morning I was reading the newspapers about a Bengali young man. And the guy was an orphan. When he was a kid, his mom passed away, his dad passed away, his mom couldn't manage, she remarried. She kept him in some uncle's house, and then finally he ended up in a orphanage. He grew up in an orphanage, then he became an adult and then got a job, and he went from city to city. Long story short, the guy came across some colleagues who were going abroad to work while he was with a job. And he asked these people, how do you go abroad? How do you get on the ship to work? Very innocent guy. He's an orphan, village boy, very innocent guy. He said, I also want to go and work on the ship. What should I have? And they said, you're supposed to have a passport. That's what they told him. And that was this guy's dream, to have a passport. Do you know what happened for the next 7 years? Read today's papers. You know what happened for the next 7 years? He didn't get his passport for 7 years. 7 years the government of India, every state he went to and moved to, denied him a passport, his rights. And you know what was the reason? The reason was they said, you're not an Indian citizen. They thought he was Bangladeshi. And the reason they thought he was Bangladeshi and not an Indian citizen is because he grew up in an orphanage and had no identity. And so his statement in the papers today was, he says, the government and the orphanage gave me food and clothing but never gave me my identity. Isn't that sad? We give people food and presents and gifts and clothing, and we give them all. We don't give them their identity. The guy didn't have an identity. He couldn't get a passport for 7 years. They just denied him. And finally, long story short, he got his passport, and now he's holding on to this passport. He's not leaving it. He's putting it under his pillow and sleeping every day. He's scared that he'll lose his passport. That's become so valuable to him. You see, it's important that we We understand that what do we live for? What do we live for? Not for money, not for food, not for clothes. We live for identity. And it says extortion turns wise people into fools and bribes corrupt the heart. When I was thinking about this guy and his story, the reason why I'm talking about this guy's story is, do you think he couldn't have got a passport in like 3 months? Why did he wait for 7 years? I'm sure he never wanted to bribe anybody anywhere. 7 years, he said, this is my right. This is my right. And I need to get it. Who waits 7 years for a passport? People don't wait 7 months for a passport. We go to the passport office, we say, okay, I want a passport. How much? Over and above the passport money, how much? Get it to me in 2 weeks. We just throw money around. We bribe people. This guy stood for 7 years. You know what's going to happen to this guy? God's going to bless him. God's going to honor him. He's going to go places. Seriously, he's going to go places. It says, and bribes corrupt the heart. Finishing is better than starting. I believe in that. Finish what you've started. Don't keep starting things and leaving them midway. It says finishing is better than starting. Patience is better than pride. Control your temper, for anger labels you a fool. Don't long for the good old days. That is not wise. Why is it not wise to long for the good old days? Have you had yourself say to people or tell yourself, oh man, back in those days, oh man, my school days, my college days, oh man, those days of old. We keep thinking about it and feeling happy, right? It says, don't long for the good old days. This is not wise. It's not saying it's bad. It's not saying it's sinful. It's saying it's not wise. Why is it not wise? Because there's no inspiration in longing for the good old days. You know what happens when you keep on thinking about the good old days? You'll expect those days to come now. And when they don't come now, you start judging people who never allowed you to bring them now. And when you don't get it now, you'll be cursing these people who are not like those people then. All you were thinking about is just the good old days, and look what you ended up being. You ended up being bitter and angry and hateful, and that's where the Bible says it's not wise. Don't think about the good old days. It's over. Those are the good old days. It's gone. Think about the fresh new days ahead. It's not wise to think about that. Wisdom is even better when you have money. What does it say? Wisdom is even better when you have money. Both are a benefit as you go through life. So wisdom and money is good. But it says wisdom is better when you have money. Wisdom and money can get you almost anything. You believe that? Wisdom and money can get you almost anything. But listen to this. But only wisdom can save your life. That's a very thin line there. Wisdom and money can get you almost anything. No doubt about it. But only wisdom saves your life from those things, those anythings that you get. Listen, it's not important to get anything and everything. Can you save your life with those anythings and everythings that you get? That's the point. Did you know a lot of times with our money and our wisdom, we go and get things that are not needed for us, and those things become our enemies, even though we think they're great things? The Bible's saying, hey, you can get anything, almost anything with wisdom and money. Don't get excited about that. But only wisdom saves your life from those supposedly things that you thought are going to be good with your money and your wisdom. The Bible is so amazing. Accept the way God does things. Listen to this. Church, listen to this. Accept the way God does things. For who can straighten what he has made crooked? Have you heard God making anything crooked in your life? people preach and say, He's a good God. He's a straight God. He's a loving God. Yes, He is. He is good. He is straight. He's loving. But the Bible tells me this morning, He also makes things crooked in your life. And look what it says. Accept the way God does things, for who can straighten what He has made crooked? Listen, if something crooked is happening in your life, don't work hard to straighten it. For all you know, it might be God doing it. Don't think it's the devil that does crooked things in your life. No, it's not. The Bible is very, very clearly saying God has the capacity to make things crooked in your life. And it's saying don't straighten it. Don't waste your time trying to straighten it. It won't work. The reason being, God made it crooked. If the devil makes something crooked in your life, you can straighten it. It will work. When God makes something crooked in your life, don't waste your time. Allow it to be like that. Enjoy prosperity while you can, but when hard times strike, realize that both come from God. Prosperity and hard times, they both come from God. Realize it's okay to be prosperous, but it's also okay to have a hard time. Because they're both from God. Remember that nothing is certain in this life. Nothing is certain in this life. What comes to your mind when you think about nothing is certain in this life? What comes to your mind? Money, education, fame, popularity, job, house, car, bike, jewels, possessions, positions, family, husband, wife, children. Nothing is certain. Nothing is certain. Your family, who you think always will be with you, can absolutely walk away. Your relative who you think is going to help you and sponsor you and be with you and fund you and stay with you will probably pass away. That good friend who says, call me anytime, I'll be on the next flight, might have taken his flight earlier. That old classmate who says, we'll always be connected, will probably say, my internet is down today. Nothing is certain. Listen, nothing is certain. When the Bible says, listen to me carefully, I want to make a point here. When the Bible says nothing is certain, how dare we try to make it certain? You know what we're doing to people and to ourselves? We're saying, I trust you. Okay, you trust me. So if you trust me, so what? You cannot let me down. Oh, well, that's a big one. You trust me, I like that. But what's the next one with? You can't let me down if you love me. Excuse me? What does that mean? Nothing is certain. Anytime anybody comes to you and demands of certainty, open Ecclesiastes 7 and 14. Print that down, maybe make a t-shirt with it. You know, the whole big controversy happening in Bengaluru. You know what's the controversy? Have you seen these posters with PayCM? Okay, forget it. It's okay. None of you are. Okay, you know Paytm, right? Paytm, right? For the last 1 week, none of you don't know what's happening in the city. Oh my gosh, there's a big controversy with one political party trying to get down the other political party, right? And they're saying, just like Paytm, they made posters of PayCM because of all the bribes taking place and all the controversies. So there's big posters of PayCM. That means pay your bribe directly to CM. PayCM. It's a huge controversy in the city. You guys, I tell you, you're looking at me like you're from Mars. So there's this big, Rahul Gandhi has come from Delhi and they're doing this big yatra in Mysore and walking everywhere. Now they're having t-shirts with PayCM and with the photograph of you know who, you know. And these guys are saying, we are going to catch you and we'll jail you and we'll do this. How dare you put the PayCM? And they're saying, go ahead, arrest us. Come on, we're here. Come arrest us. Nobody's able to arrest anybody. So they're walking with this PayCM posters. Nothing is certain in life. If you're trying to demand someone to take care of you and love you and honor you and protect you and provide for you, please, that's a joke. Even though they really want to do it, they'll not be able to do it. So make a t-shirt, Ecclesiastes 7:14. Nothing is certain in this life. Nothing is certain. If someone tells you, I'm going to be with you till you die. You know, it's a joke, right? I'm going to be with you till you die. I'll be with you in all your troubles. Really? I'll never let you down. Seriously? You just did. Nothing. Remember that nothing is certain in life. There's only one person who's certain, and that's God. That's the point. There's only one person who's certain all the time. He's God, the Lord of our lives, Jesus. He will never let you down. He will stand by you. He will be there for you. You can be the worst guy on planet Earth. He will be there for you. Because He is certain. No one else, nothing else is certain. It's all a desire and a fantasy. Everything else is just a desire and a fantasy. And maybe people are going to work hard for that certainty. But they might not last too long to even show that certainty to you. So why even expect it when it's not going to be certain? Don't blame people for not being certain to you. Don't do that. Blame yourself for expecting the certainty from them. Don't blame the people who weren't able to be certain and David, don't blame them. That's not right. We need to take into account our expectation. How dare we even ask someone to be certain when the Bible says there is nothing certain? Who's violating the principle? God's not violating. We are violating the principle. And so let's talk to ourselves. And let's tell ourselves, God's the only certain person. I can count on Him. No one else, nothing else is certain. When we understand the rules of life and the spirituality of who God is to us, we'll be lesser broken. Let's all stand.